to Crafternoon. I'm Nikki and I'm going to show you how to make a jelly plate for the session next week, and today we're going to be doing some mono printing. We're going to make the jelly plate today because it will need to set at least overnight, so you could watch the video back if you wanted to and make it on next Sunday ready for Monday. So I'll be here again next Monday. So we'll do that first, but for the session for making the jelly plates you're going to need a jug, some 5 packets of gelatine that you can buy from the supermarket, any supermarket, Sainsbury's, Tesco's, wherever, and a tub or some kind of dish to put your jelly plate in and to set it in. It will need to be at least probably about ½ inch thick at least. The thicker it is, the thicker your plate is, the better, because it will last a bit longer. So you're also going to need ½ a cup of hot water, a ½ cup of cold water, which is about 125 ml approximately. So first of all, you're going to get your hot water, which I have down here. And really, you're just making jelly, normal jelly, but you're making it a lot thicker and a lot stronger, so you probably wouldn't want to eat it. So there, I've got my hot water, so now I'm going to put the 5 packets of gelatine into my hot water quickly. You'll need something handy that you can stir it with as well. I've got a palette knife or spoon or something. So I'll open this one. So these packets, they should be 12 grams each. Yeah, 12 grams. So if you've got bigger ones, you'll need less. But these ones are 12 grams. Just empty them all in there. Trying to do it quite quickly so it doesn't take too much. And then give it a good stir. You'll see it's quite thick. I'm just going to stir that in really well until it's got no lumps in it. So you need to have this ready for next Monday. It will last quite a long time in the fridge, but do keep it in the fridge so it doesn't melt. Once you've used it as well, you will be able to melt it down and reset it. I think that's all the lumps out. So now I'm going to put ½ a cup of cold water in there. Make that up to a cup. And then stir that really well. You get some great textures when you come to doing the jelly printing. It's a good idea to collect some bits and pieces as well. Some things like netting from onions and garlic are quite good for textures. So I think that's mixed up pretty well. So I'm just going to pour it in here. Oh, there's a lump. Just get rid of that lump. Have a piece of paper handy as well when you do this, because after you've done that, you can actually use the packet. So I'm just going to take off the top layer to get rid of all those bubbles, to get a smoother top. So I'll do that with that one, and I'll just do it again. Right then, that's ready. That can go in the fridge now. So I'm going to just loosely put a top on because it's still hot. So I'm going to put that in the fridge in a bit. And that'll set, and that'll be ready to take out next week. Right, I'll just get rid of this rubbish. So for today, we're going to do some simple mono printing that you can do at home. Oh, I just wanted to show you, if you don't want to make your jelly prints, you can buy them. This is one by Speedball. So you can buy plates ready-made, but they are quite expensive. So for today we're going to do some monoprint. So what you're going to need is some drawings, or just, so I've got a picture that I cut out of the newspaper, that you could use something like that, or a magazine, a drawing, or something that you've traced. So I'm going to work with this today, this traced drawing that I've made. Any text that you do will come out back to front, so if it's better to trace it and then flip it over if you're doing that. I'm going to start by cutting out a border. So I've got my paper here. So I've just cut my paper down to the same size as the plate, which I use. So the plates that you can either use a metal sheet. So I've just got a piece of metal steel. There's some perspex. You can use perspex, is just as good, or some environment board, which is like cardboard but it's shinier, so you can print off that one as well. You'll need some bits of card. If you've got a roller, that's great, because you get a much smoother finish with a roller. If you haven't got a roller, you will get a more textured effect. If I can find the sample. So you'll get, if you use card to apply your ink, you will get something more like that. So you've got you can see lines and things on it. That's the one that was made with the stencils. But we'll go through the different techniques for you. I'm going to use this plate. So what I'm going to do, just in case I decide that I want to do a two-layered print, so using two colours, I'll cut everything out to the same size as the plate, so it's easy for me to register them. So I'm just going to draw around this plate first with my pencil, which is somewhere. So I'm just going to draw around that, and then I'm just going to cut a few sheets out of that. I've got about two sheets here. I'm just going to cut that out. So this is going to be the paper that I print on. I'll make a border just so that it makes it neater, so you don't get lots of blobs all around the edge, but it's up to you. You can do it without a border. And you can use you don't have to use plain paper. I'm going to keep those bits for just to test on. You can use bits of newsprint, or you can use some pages from books, anything that you fancy using to print onto. And I've also drawn out another one exactly the same size, and that's to make a template. So that I've cut it out, drawn around it, and then I've just marked up where my picture is. So let's just do that first. So if I put my picture in the corner there, I can just about see where I could do a border. So I've just drawn it like that, and then I've measured it out, and then I've got a ruler. You do want to cut this around the edges as well. So where I marked it, I just drew the lines, and then I just made sure they were both the same size on each side. So you can, you don't have to be that precise if you don't want to be. But here's one I made earlier. So that's just a template, just to keep it neat around the edges. So firstly, what you need to do is space. So firstly, we're going to roll out some ink onto here. Now the inks that I use are block printing inks. So I use Dale & Rowney block printing inks. If you've only got acrylics, then it's a good idea to invest in some block printing medium to mix with them, because this stops them drying out so fast. Acrylics tend to dry out really quickly, so you'll find that you'll just have to work quicker. If you've only got acrylics, just go ahead with it, but just try and work on it quickly before it does dry. Have we got any comments? I'm just checking comments. No. Okay. Right, so I'm just going to use a black ink. gloves. It's a good idea to have gloves on as well. It can be quite messy. So I'm going to put my gloves on at this point while I get the ink out. So I'm just going to put my ink out. So I'll need it portrait way because I'm going to do the flower one. So I'm just going to try and get some out of there. If I can't get any out of there, no, I'll do it with a palette knife. Now you don't need a lot. You need less than you probably think you need because you need quite a thin layer of it. So you don't get it too many blobs everywhere. So that should be fine. Now, as I said before, if you haven't got a roller, you could either brush it on, or you can use some cards. But you see how you do get lines. So just try and get it on as even as you can, and I'm just going to roll it out. So that's a really, really thin layer. I don't know if you can see how thin that layer is. I'm just going to try and roll it out as far as I can. I normally like to stand up and do this. Right, so once you've rolled it out and you think it's okay, if you get a piece of your scrap paper that you saved, or any piece of scrap paper, just place it on, just do some scribbles. Try not to press it down because people are very tempted to just go like that and then you just get all marks on it. It's not made any marks because it's quite a really thin layer. So, and then just try and scribble. If you get nothing on there, then it's too thin, but if you get lots of blobs all around the edge, then you've got too much ink. But that looks pretty perfect to me, so I'm just going to go with that and roll it out again. So once you've got your ink onto your metal plate or plastic sheet, you can use those what do you call them, the plastic wallets, you know, with the punched holes in. That's quite good, but you will need to tape it down because they move about a lot. So at this point because I'm going to touch my paper, I'm going to take my gloves off again, and I'm going to put the first thing to put down. So it's exactly the same size as my plate again, and that's the border, so you don't get mess all around the edge. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but I like to do that. And then you get your paper that you're going to print on, which also I've cut to the same size as the plate because I might want to add a different colour and it makes it easy to register. If you're only going to do one colour, then you don't need to do all that. And what I've done, because this is up in the corner there, what I've done is just mark it so that it sits nicely inside the border that I've done. So I've just put a mark there so that I can see where it goes. Now this is probably, when I work on it, it probably will move about quite a bit. So what I've got here is I've got some weights from kitchen scale weights. If you haven't got anything like that, you could just put some tape, use some masking tape or something like that to hold it down. I just find the weights easy because they're handy, you don't have to bother with all the taping. Right, so, and I'm just going to use, now you can use different things to make marks. Like this one will make thicker marks because it's got a thick end. But for a line drawing, I'm just using a biro, and I'm just going to go round the drawing that I've made. But like I said before, you might just want to use a picture that you've cut out of a newspaper. You might want to use that. If I was doing that, because it's not the same size as this, I'd probably just cut it to exactly the same size as the border. So you could use that, and then you can just draw on top of it. Or if you've got a drawing that you've done already, that you can draw around it. So I'm just going to go around all of the lines. And if you want to, if you start, it's a good idea just to check that it's working. So just lift it up without moving it and just have a look to see if it's working, and that looks fine to me. So I'm just going to draw all of that. So it's just going all around the lines. If you have trouble seeing the lines, use a different coloured pen. You can get those coloured gel pens, which are handy for something like this. But I'm just doing this quickly anyway, so I'm not really worrying too much about what I can and can't see. So I'm not going to go all the way around that because that would take me quite a long time, and it's not very interesting to watch me just sitting drawing around that. I'm just going to show you another one that I've started. So that's working fine. So you can see how that's coming out. Now the nice thing about monoprinting this way, you get a different sort of line that you'd get with a normal drawing, and you can put your fingers in it and make different kinds of textures. So what I've done here, I've just, to make it a more interesting print, I've just scraped on some blue paint, and I'm just going to use that as a background. So I'm going to put that on again. I've cut it to the same size. I'm going to put that one on instead. I'm going to go get the same drawing. And I remember, the main thing to remember is that if you are putting text on, you will have to draw it back to front. So that's why using tracing paper is much easier. So I'm just going to draw around this again and onto that background. And then we could add another colour. So do remember for next week, just to make sure you've got lots of different textures for the jelly printing. You can use all sorts of things. You can use bits of wire, bits of wool, and make all different kinds of textures. And with this as well, I'm not going to go around all of it, but if it might be a good idea to, when you make the first one, just have a little play with some marks. You could do some cross hatching to create dark areas, or try rubbing it with your fingers in certain areas, see what effect you get there. Or with the back of the pencil, get a thicker line. And I've got this bamboo pen as well, which would create a bit of a thicker line. So just have a play with some textures that you can get, and I'm just going to try colouring that bit in with that. Try not to press it down everywhere though, and always remember, test how much ink you've got on there. If you've got too much ink on it, blot it with some newspaper. So I'm just going to make a few textures and just see what we get from that. So you can see those marks. It looks quite nice on the blue, and you can see these marks that I've tried out with using different things. You could use sticks, or I'm just looking at things that I've got around me, like rulers, the edges of rulers, knitting needle. So you could use anything to create some nice textures on there. And then I might want to add, if I want to add another colour, I will need to clean all that off. But to clean it off, the thing that I find the easiest with this ink is baby wipes. I know some of them that are very environmentally friendly, but you can just use a cloth and some soapy water. This is quick for demonstrating. So I'll just dry that with a bit of tissue. Here. Kitchen roll. Just make sure it's really dry before you put the next colour on. If you've got more than one plate the same size, then that's even better. You could just swap about. You can chop and change which ones that you're using. Right, so now I've got blue and I've got black on that one. So what colour should we do? Just check out my colours. I'm trying to think what colour would look good on that one. What have I got? I'll try a dark blue on top of that, because we've already got blue, haven't we? So we'll do a dark blue, that one. Blending nicely. So this is, what colour is it? Oh, it's just blue, so it's one of the, might be one of the process colours. Clean palette knife to get it out with. Push that one. I'll just clean that one. I'll keep that bit handy for cleaning other things. So I'm just going to get. Right, I'm just going to show you what to do if you've got too much ink on. So I'm going to purposely put too much ink on. So that's far too much ink on there, because you can see it's in big lumps. So take off any big lumps first. You also need to clean the roller. I'll just get another roller. Ooh, needs cleaning. So, yeah, don't leave, especially if you're using acrylic, don't leave your rollers. It's not a very good one, so I'm going to use this one. Don't leave the ink on your rollers for too long, because if it dries, it will ruin your roller. So I'm just going to roll that out. So you can kind of hear when it's got too much ink on, because it makes sort of a, I don't know if you can hear that. So that's probably too much ink on there, and I'm just going to try and see what happens when you've got too much ink. So you'll get something like that. As you can see, it's picked up lots and lots of the ink, and sometimes you get a double line like it is there. Just hold it a bit closer. You can see that it's got a double line around it instead of a nice tidy line like that. It's quite nice if you want different effects, but I don't want it that thick, so I'm going to get some newspaper. Some newspaper, and I'm just going to roll that over, or just press it down if you don't have a roller. And then check it again. Just roll it out to get rid of those lines. And then try again. The bin's right over there. Right, then just try again. Let's see if that's any better. So that's a bit better. Still could take some more off, but I don't mind some of these nice blotchy bits. I'm going to leave it like that. Just roll that back. So we're going to go back to the same picture. The border first. Don't forget the border if you want that nice crisp edge. And my drawing back on. And my tracing paper, which goes in that corner. And just hold it down. And then I'm just going to see what happens if I start colouring some of these bits in. I'm just keeping my eye on the time. We'll see, by doing this, we'll see how well you've registered the pieces of paper. Right, I'm not going to do all of it again, I'm just doing bits just to show you what the ideas that you can do. You can be as creative as you like. So, let's see what we've got there. Yeah, it's not quite registered enough. I've noticed that the lines were quite a bit out, but then you've got added colours and you've got added textures, and you can just keep working on with different colours and just experiment. The other thing that you can do, and you will need a little bit more ink if you want to use some stencils. So I'm going to just do one with stencils, and I'm not going to use a roller. I'm going to use the credit card's probably quite a good idea, because that an old one, obviously, not one that's in use. If you've got an old credit card or an old store card or something, that'd probably put it on quite evenly. But I'm just going to use this. I've done it a little bit thicker because I'm going to do stencils with this one. So you just get it on as evenly as you can. And I'm not going to worry about it being too thick this time. Right, so the stencils, I haven't prepared any stencils. But so what I'll do is just cut out some shapes from this scrap paper again. I'm just going to do some random triangles. Actually put my border on because I need to make sure it's inside the border. I haven't got any ink down here, but I'm not going to worry about that. I could always put another colour on afterwards. So I'm just going to get a new piece of paper for this one. Have I got one cut out? Yeah, I'll use that one. Now, if you've got a clean roller, okay, I'm going to hold it down. If you've got a clean roller, you could just roll over the back of it with a clean roller, or you can use the back of a spoon. If it's quite thick, it should work with your hands. But if you don't want to do it with your hands, you can use the back of a spoon. If you've not cleaned your roller, what I'd do is put another piece of paper over the top and then roll it, instead of doing it straight onto the back of your print. Have I got a spoon? Look. If you've done any lino printing, you might have one of these little brayer things, which you can use one of those. Or I just think I've got a spoon. Oh, here we go. Just measuring spoon. So you could just go over the back and just keep looking to see how it's doing. That seems to be working okay. So we should go around the bits with the stencils. I'm going to go right up to the border this time, so we should get a nice clean edge. I haven't got any ink down here, so that's going to plain. I can put something else there later. Okay. Let's just see how that's worked. It's worked fine. Maybe a bit more around the edges, maybe a bit more attention to get them nice and smooth edges, because they're a bit. I'm going to do all of them. We've only got 5 minutes left. So you can see that it's a bit more textured because we haven't rolled it on really smoothly. And because the ink's really thick, you'd be able to get another one from that as well. You'd be able to do that again. I've only got a few. Oh, we're all right. We're all right for time. Right. So another thing that I sometimes do is I need my gloves on. Put my gloves on. There's lots and lots and lots of different things that you can do with mono printing. I'm not going to go too much into textures because we'll be doing that next week with the jelly plates, because they're great for texture because they're soft and you can push things into it. But you can use things like on here I could press some bubble wrap into it. Oh. Excuse me, I just got my gloves on. Right, so now I've got my gloves on, I'm going to peel off these bits. So what I quite often do, peel those off, place them somewhere else. And turn them over and put them in a different place, so you pick up that ink as well. So the first way I showed you is the simplest and easiest way to do mono printing if you haven't got a press. but you can draw into your plate. Even after you've printed some, you may want to use up the rest of the ink that you've got on there. I'm just going to try with stencils. And then you can take, you can see, you can take bits away. And always remember, if you are going to put any text on, make sure it's backwards. Without using a press, you probably need to do quite thick lines to make them show up. So, and other things, you can take it away with cloths, create the lines. This way does work a little bit better when you've got a press. I'm not just do random lines. So anything that you can make marks into that. I've got some bubble wrap handy. I don't. I haven't got any bubble wrap handy, but if you just press it into it, that's another way of getting a texture in there. And then you put your paper over it again. Some smooth paper for this. It'll work better with some smooth paper. And then I'll just roll over the back of it with a clean roller. Get those. So just experiment with different textures and different marks to start with if you've not done it before. And then that should pick all those marks up. Got quite a nice texture. Could use that for a background or something. But you can see all what's happened with all the ones that I turned over. We've picked up a little bit of ink still, and it's a bit random. But you can make yours as neat as you like. But I'd just have it play and just experiment. And even these could be used as collage pieces, so I often keep the little bits like that. Another way, what else have I done? This, sometimes when I'm working, if I want to create something, it just needs that little bit extra something, I'll add some leaves. So here on this drawing, I've just got some, see them. So all I've done is ink up the leaves and then print them. So I'll just do one of those quickly before we finish. And get some leaves. So I've got some leaves that have been dried here. All sorts of things actually. I'm going to use one that's been pressed. So that it's not too brittle, it'll break. If it's too brittle, it'll break. You can use ones that you've just got directly from outside. That one's better. So you'll just need something to roll out the ink on again. So I'm just going to pick off these bits. In fact, I'll use a new one for this. Where's the plastic one that I had? I'll use this. This is the smooth card. Because you just need something to put the ink out onto for this one. Oh, I can't get my gloves back on. I'll just do it without. I'll wash my hands in a minute. It can start to get very messy when you're in a small space. So I'm just going to put some ink out and then roll it out. And then I think I'll add it to one of my other prints. I'll get that out ready. So I'm going to add it onto that one. So I'm just going to roll that out. I'll use a small roller because I've got a small plate. Again, you don't want loads. I've got a little bit too much there, so I'm just going to block some of that off. so I'll get most of that. Right. And then you'll just need a surface, some newspaper or something that you can just, and then I'm just going to ink up I use the one that's got the most veins, the side that's got the veins on that are sticking out, because they get better texture. And it's just inking up. So this, you can use anything. You can use bits of material, bubble wrap, and then I'll just, if I was doing a lot of these, I'd just put them all on and then put it through the press. But you might need to put, if you do it like this, put something over the top of it before you roll over it, in case you've got ink on your roller still. I'm just going to find something to put over it. Paper. I use a bit of newspaper with this picture on, and then just really press it down hard. You do get quite a nice effect actually on the paper as well that you rolled it with. You get still got the shape of the leaf on there as well. And then just see if it's worked. Do it a little bit more. If I stand up, we can get more pressure. And there's your leaf shape. So you can do that with bubble wrap or texture. You could try some of the netting that we've got for next week. You can even use a little bit of that. Ink some of that up as well. I'm just going to ink that up. I need a little bit more ink out. So anything that you've got that's got texture on, you can print. Probably a good idea to decide whereabouts you're going to place it first. I'm just doing it really random. If that will work. Because I was running out of ink. Right, let's see what we get. Something. Got a pattern. Get a thinner piece of paper. Do that again. I think I needed a little bit more ink on that. But you can see how that picks up that texture on there as well, so it just can be a nice effect as well. So you could do that with lots of things. It works like a rubbing. So you can see that's got the texture on there as well. In fact, it's got the texture, but the texture on there, it's better on there. So just experiment with different things and what you want it to look like. Pick out your colours first maybe and get them all prepared, ready and mixed up. The medium that I use, if you've got acrylics and you do want to invest in some medium, I use this System 3 block printing medium that you can get from any art suppliers. It's Dale and Rowney, so you can look on places like Great Art is a good one. Jackson's is another one. I think there's lots of different art suppliers out there. I think Turner's sell it at Rowsley as well. So that's that one. I need to wash my hands. Let's see how are we with time. I think we're at about out of time now. So I hope you enjoy experimenting and just have fun, play with the different textures and the different ways of working with mono printing. I could show you lots more, but we haven't got time. So thank you for watching and see you next week. Don't forget your jelly prints. Get them prepared, ready on Sunday, or if you want to do it today, that's fine. You'll need 5 packs of gelatine. You find it in the baking department at the supermarket. But check it's the 12 gram ones. You normally buy it in packs of 3 packs of 12, so you'll need 2 of those to get your 5 packs. So hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. Bye.